各位观众朋友们，大家好，欢迎收看 JxJ 论坛，由我 JxJ 马健与我们好朋友 Jim Noteware 为我们去讨论这个礼拜的时事。Jim,
Hello, Jimmy.
very rough few days. A lot of issues popping up.
A lot of issues popping up. Yeah.
However, we do know that you will be celebrating your birthday in a few weeks in Italy, so that is something to look forward to.
It's very much looking forward to. Yep.
The rest we will revisit next week for good updates, which I already know will be good news.
Sure.
What is not good news is what's in the headlines.
Yeah.
To continue what we spoke of last week, you are in the real estate business and you've been there for half a century. This rate hike, this inflation that keeps going, this is going to be problematic for the housing market. What would you suggest our viewers to do? Or tell them what's going to happen.
Well, I think what's in the process of happening, and it takes a while. So that means once momentum is started, it continues for a while. What's happening is two kinds of interest rates are going up. Most people listen to the news and they hear, oh, the Fed raised interest rates. Well, that is true. But when the Fed raises interest rates, they're talking about short-term interest rates within the banking system, 30 days, 90 days, maybe a year. And that's very significant. So anybody that is doing bank borrowings, anything like that, including credit cards, money market accounts, all those things, interest rates are going up. And that will take a lot of steam out of the economy. And the Fed knows now that inflation is not only growing and bigger than it thought it was, they've now acknowledged that their former statements about it being transitory, meaning temporary, are incorrect, and that it's here to stay for a while. And they've also acknowledged that in terms of their remedies, they are late. So they're playing aggressive catch-up. What coulda, shoulda done is get in front of this early, do it moderately, do it gradually. But let me give you, so that's all on the what we call the short end of the yield curve. When you go into long-term rates, the Fed manages them now through the process of what they created in the 2007, 8, 9 recovery called quantitative easing. That means they go into the capital markets and buy bonds, and they inject money into the capital markets. Basically, they create money just out of thin air by buying bonds. They put in money and they hold the bonds. And as recently, even though inflation was kicking up all of last year, as recently as March of this year, literally 3 months ago, they were continuing to buy mortgage-backed securities. In other words, what they were doing is intentionally subsidizing the mortgage market while the housing market was surging. So they were feeding a fire for a very long time. Well, in March, in April, they decided to stop that purchasing and let the mortgage market go where it would be, let it float, based upon their other tightening in those days, 50 basis points. They've since increased that from 50 to 125. Okay. And now, because they're behind and trying to catch up, they've pledged to do more. But to answer your question, Jimmy, about what's going on in the housing market, in March, long-term mortgage rates were 2.5%. Last month, they were 4.5%. Earlier this month, they were 5.5%. And after the Fed made the 75 basis point decision 2 weeks ago, they went to 6.5%. And if the Fed increases 50 or 75 basis points next month, which is what they are pledged to do, mortgage interest rates will go to 7.5%. That's what most people are expecting. So in 3 months, maybe 4, if you count the outside, you've gone from 2.5% to 7.5%. I mean, that is like, as I said last week, riding a galloping stallion at full pace and pulling back on the reins immediately. They will throw the driver or the horseman off over the front. Okay, I mean it's compounds errors, and one of the life lessons that I continue to get reminded of is mistakes beget mistakes. Everyone will make a mistake, but by making mistakes out of neglect, out of intentional obfuscation, by trying to pretend something bad wasn't happening and letting it go on. One of the lessons of the Nixon administration is the cover-up was worse than the crime. We have this kind of thing going on all over the place now. Now, housing is a very important component of the economy. I think we talked about this last week or a few weeks ago. It's not just buying a little bit of lumber or putting seeds on the ground and watching the houses grow like on a farm. I mean, you have major industries that support the housing market. People who make carpet, people who make refrigerators and stoves, people who make roofing materials. And they're not just domestic industries anymore. They're very much international industries. And they're all tied up in consumption of energy, in consumption of energy in their fabrication, consumption of energy in their delivery, and consumption of energy in their assembly. So when energy prices go up, guess what? Everything in the housing industry goes. So the housing industry is suffering from a double whammy. Number one is construction cost increases, and then now more belatedly dramatic increases in mortgages. And that interest rate increase alone that I described just a moment ago means that housing affordability for someone who wanted to buy a new home today, because of that mortgage interest rate, they can afford to buy half as much as they did just 3 months ago. Anybody who thinks that is not an abrupt change. And so what's happening is many buyers are canceling the contracts because their mortgage lender will not fund, because they no longer qualify. Home builders are canceling their contracts with land sellers. Developers like myself are either canceling their land purchases or are renegotiating the price and terms of their purchases. So the compounding effects moving back upstream. And by the way, this is just in the real estate or the housing end of the real estate industry. You can see the same thing going on in many, many other basic industries, oil and gas, probably as prominent as any. And there are many explanations for why gasoline prices are higher at the pump. The thing that, while I'm concerned about gas prices at the pump, everybody understands them. The media is paying incredible attention to them. We hear the same messages every day. But one of the silent killers that a lot of people don't fully appreciate that is really, really happening is the cost of electric power is going up by leaps and bounds. I know your family is in that business as well, Jimmy. People think all they got to do is plug in the wall and magically electricity appears. And thankfully it does, except when it doesn't, like during a cold snap or when air conditioning demand surges. So not only are things getting extraordinarily expensive very, very quickly, but in some cases, our supply is going to be tested. I hear predictions all over the country for brownouts this summer. And Texas is already going through a premature heat wave. Yes, summers in Texas are known to be warm, not hot, but it's prematurely hot this year, and not just in Texas, but other parts of the country as well. So I think what's happening is inflation is affecting negatively virtually every corner of our economy and almost every person and company. And we're in for some tough times. And everyone's budget is impacted on this.
Yeah.
And there will be many, many ripple effects that I don't think a lot of people have thought their way through. So anyway, you've been patient to listen to me.
No, absolutely. No, what you said is sad to me because our shows are recorded and it's all of this is archived on the on YouTube. All right, if you go and look up JxJ forum on Southern News, you can see every episode dating back 2 years. And back in December, we already warned everyone. So this is what my take on this is. Electricity. I think I mentioned that quite a few times, but never delving deep. If you're a business owner, let's say you own a hotel or a factory or any kind of building that consumes energy, when the bill jumps to double or triple from last year, it will make a difference. Or when you cannot even lock into a long-term rate. We have clients calling, they're panicking and thinking they can still get them, and they say they'll wait. If you don't sign a long-term contract and you go month to month, that means you're exposing yourself to the risk of having a huge spike. We know our grid is in trouble because we're not linked. We know this is an unprecedented heat wave. Did you know that this June, so far already, we're on pace to break the record for the highest temperature in Houston, Texas for June? Highest record. Global warming is real, whatever you want to call it. And you know what? That has nothing to do with the fact that politics has, because of fossil fuel, people talk about the pipeline, if we were able to get gas prices down. But like we know, this is from both sides. Every administration has kicked the can down the road until now. In 2008, 2009, mortgage-backed securities, we were able to get out of that mess by pumping more money, by doing QE, by having more QE, quantitative easing. Well, this time, the problem is QE. There's no coming back from this. There's no emergency lever. There's no way out of this. We are going to go into a hard recession. Everything will be affected. Right now, we're complaining about inflation, higher food prices, higher gasoline. Electricity prices has been going up because it's tied to natural gas. I feel like I have been missiled. I have been drinking the Kool-Aid, from more progressive viewpoints of how we need to go green. I admit that we do need to go green. We need to be more aggressive in it. But in the meantime, the demand for fossil fuel is not coming down. It hasn't caught up yet. We cannot go green until we have enough, but yet we don't have it and demand is going up. So to fulfill your political reasons, the end result is our people will suffer. People that are going paycheck, people are taking out payday loans right now. You know how dangerous that is with this kind of interest inflation? Everything will go up because it's a trickle-down effect. It will affect every walk of life. Even if you're the top tax bracket, it will still hurt. Politics has affected business. Ken Griffin, in our industry, is a very well-known trader, owns a huge hedge fund called Citadel. They're based out of Chicago for 30-some years. He has announced that he will be moving out because he's a GOP donor, but still, whether it's good for business or not, but mainly it's for crime. They're moving out of Chicago to Miami because the crime rate in Chicago is so high. All this politics has been affecting life. Policies dictated by the elected officials that we elect, as now we're paying for that price. But we don't have enough time to get them out of office. And no, it'll take years to recover from this. And I fear for my children because they're young. We don't remember what it's like in the 70s. You do. We talked about it. That was a decade of pain and hardship, just like how your parents had to go through the Great Depression. There are a lot of families that are not going to make out of it. And that fear and despair will leave a very traumatic mark on their youth, on them growing up. Right. So there's no way out of this, Jim. But you're right. This is 3 decades in the making. Starting from Reaganomics now. Yeah.
And many people about warning have been, like you mentioned, warning that this is coming. It's starting to take shape now. and I think more and more people are a believer. But it's kind of like the Titanic. We've seen the iceberg. We know we're going to hit it, and it's too late to make a turn. And there's lots of ramifications. We're in a whole ocean full of icebergs. But
I've been going to New York a lot in the past few months.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
So, I have friends in real estate business there. They're seeing in New York, the East and West Coast is always half a year to year ahead of us. When they come up, when the prices come up, we'll catch up, but when it comes down, it'll take a while for us to. He already told me he's seen prices come down from the peak in the last 6 months. He's seeing that a lot of closings is not like, the last year, people just buy it on the spot and there's multiple bidding from the same offering. He's coming down, he sees it. New York money is already going out to Florida, even coming to Texas. We know that. So we will feel it. It hasn't hit us yet. However, what scares me is what happens to the renters? What happened to, like you said, everyone's affected. Where are they going to go? We already have a homeless problem. There are going to be people that become homeless not by choice. Everyone thinks a lot of homeless are not by choice. And then what? And then with politics right now, with what's going on in the Supreme Court, I still can't believe that they basically expanded gun rights even more after what happened. This is the one thing we could agree on, definitely, that we need to have more stringent laws. But because the court is very conservative, that's the thing. You can be conservative on certain issues. We all agree. We are conservative on many different issues. But on certain things, it's not about progressive or conservative. It's just reality. So when your political ideology becomes a baggage that overrides what is beneficial for the majority of Americans, this becomes a problem. And every day we look at headlines. It is ridiculous. It is the go-go days of the last 2 years. People forgot how hard it is. Jim, could you advise us? Oh, speaking of which, during my travels, we'll talk to people. I met somebody the other day, older gentleman that lives in Pearland. He was in Missouri City for many years. He told me that, his house, he's in the 60s, a grandfather already, keeps increasing the value and he considers selling it. But then he looked around, he could sell it for a profit, but then where's he going to move to? Further out, right now is the go-go days. Right now, Houston is not hurting yet, but it will. And when you see everybody's a realtor now, literally everyone and their mothers, grandmothers are the realtors. It's a problem. Just like how everyone is a Bitcoin miner or how everyone is trading stocks a few years ago. We know it's a problem. In 2007, 2006, we already knew. I was in graduate school at that time, getting my second master's. Everyone I know was trading and making money, whatever you buy it on. And this is a problem. Hi, baby boy. Hi, put on I'm taking care. Love you. Have the young children at home is very difficult. Sorry, Jim. He just woke up from his nap.
Yeah, take advantage of those days. Yep.
Oh, yeah. I firmly believe that I spend as much, I try very hard to spend time. It's about time. That's the only thing we'll never get back. Right, and I want to be there for them growing up. I don't have any regrets. I do. I spend as much time as I can with my children, and I'm proud. It's not easy, but I try very hard. My parents did the same for me, too.
Agree.
Yes. And I know you're an example. What you've done with your children, no matter what is out there, your family, how close they are, how close. When your children still want to see you and travel with you, for example, that to me, you're already a winner. Because a lot of parents, their kids, when they're adults, you don't want to see their parents. You don't want to do anything with them. And it's a shame because, you cultivated this closeness and that will continue. It's generational wealth. People think wealth is what's in the bank account. Generational wealth is also the closeness, the love you have for your family. Jim, all the gloom and doom, no matter what, we're here. We've talked it out many times. I hope you have a great trip. I hope whatever it is that you need will be done. I don't want to say anything out here while we're taping, but we will pray, keep you in our prayers.
Thank you.
And we hope you have a great trip. And we will see you before you leave for Italy next week. We will see you.
Tape early next week.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jimmy. A lot more to talk about.
Yes, sir. Take care, and we'll talk again in a few days.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. 谢谢各位。